Welcome everybody, Project 52 folks, the internet, whatever, whoever's looking at this video. This photograph was submitted by Kit and in the Project 52 2017 Spring Edition. After this is his third attempt. He had a very scattered shot, then he did something a little bit better, and then he came up with this, and I think he did a pretty good job on it. I did a little Photoshop and sent it back to him, and he said, please show me how you did it. So I'm going to show you kind of like what I would do with this shot. So I'm going to put this little GoToWebinar thing away down here so I don't have to, doesn't get in my way. I'm in Lightroom, as you can tell, and I have my wonderful RNI, I guess they're presets, film emulation presets, and I like them a lot. When I'm starting to work on an image, I like them a lot, and I use them on almost every image. We'll get over there to that in a second. First of all, I'm going to crop out all this unneeded stuff right at the top here. Right about there. All right, that makes a little bit better composition. You'll see what I do with that in just a little bit as we go through it. This isn't complicated, by the way. I'm keeping all these techniques simple because several of the Project 52 people need to slowly edge their way into what can be done in Photoshop. And it's a beautiful still life to begin with, so we're not going to mess it up or do anything other than bring out something I think that's pretty cool in it. First of all, it reminds me of a kind of a shot I would have done back in the day on a 4x5 or 8x10 camera. So I'm going to, and I rarely do this, but I'm going to go over here to the slide film. I'm going to hit Velvia 100 and see what Velvia 100 does. Wow, that gives us a lot of texture and red colors. Velvia 50 even more. Let's try the Kodak. Kodak pulls it a little back, a little bit. Kodak Elite Warm here. See, all that's just a little too heavy-handed for me. Nope, I'm not liking any of these for. Let's try one of these Alt 50s here. Just too heavy for this image. Too heavy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my negative films and actually run the Kodak or the Fuji Superior. Where is it? Right, oh, right here, 200 right there. A little bit more natural colors to it. We can go down to the Ektars, Kodak Ektar, which is a film I like a lot. Yeah, I like the Ektar. So I'm going to reset it here to where we were, and then I'm going to hit the Ektar. Yeah, that works. And of course I lost my crop, so I got to get my crop back. So I'm going to stay with the Kodak Ektar. Ektar is a film that I can currently get. I mean, I can buy Ektar for my medium format cameras, and quite often I do. I'm going to raise the exposure just a little bit here overall. I'm going to kill the contrast just a little bit overall. And I'm going to take my highlights up just a little bit. You can see that the preset has done a lot here over here with color. So I like to get base colors, because one of the things I would do is if I had done a if I had done a series of these shots, I could use and shot them at different times, maybe under different lightings. I could use the RNI to bring them all back to a single color palette, so to speak. So that's one of the reasons and one of the ways I use the RNIs a lot. So move my clarity up just a little bit on here. That's looking pretty good. I think I'm going to take my exposure back down, actually, now that we've done that. And I'm going to grab my gradient neutral density filter, and I'm going to come in just from the top here and darken that so we keep our focus more towards the glove and keep our focus from going out of the image. I want to make sure I've got a lot of detail on this glove, so I'm going to hit 0. Grab my brush, make my brush just a little bit bigger. Hit oh, not 0, O, sorry. Hit O. Go around these edges here. And this is the part where it's really exciting to watch a Photoshop video, because watching somebody paint a giant area of glove with a brush is, tantalizing. Almost as it's almost as exciting as when they have those behind the scenes shots at the fashion in quotes fashion things, and we get to see 18 minutes of the makeup artist applying lip gloss, because good God Almighty, we don't get to see that stuff enough. It's just exciting. Anyway, I'm rambling here because I'm really not thinking what I'm talking about. I'm actually thinking about what I'm doing here, and who cares what I'm talking about anyway? Nobody we know. All right, so I've got all these edges done. Now I can make my brush a little bit bigger, and I can be a little sloppier in here, getting all this stuff to be where I want it. I'm going to bring up some texture in those gloves. They've got plenty of texture, but I really want to see it. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit O again. I'm going to go over here to clarity. I'm going to pop the clarity up quite a bit, about 35. Yeah, it looks good. That looks pretty good. I'm going to take the contrast down just a little bit, and I'm going to take the exposure for those gloves down just a little bit as well. That will help me pop this unit out just a little bit more. Okay? All right, so that's looking pretty good. I'm now going to take that brush again here, and I'm going to come over and I'm going to paint this this knife blade here. Not the brightest areas on the tips. I'm just going to paint the knife blade right in here. All this texture right there, and this texture right in here. It's great patina on this. Looks like gardening shears. Really cool. Real cool feel to it. Oops. Let's move it back to where it was. Thank you. All right, turn the O off and hit my exposure. Bring it up a little bit. There we go. See, now we're popping that unit up just a little bit. Contrast up. Yeah, just a little bit. And let's go up a little bit more with, there we go. So now we kind of got a center feel to that cutter, which I think is very important. One more. We're going to come down here. We're going to paint some of these highlighted areas in here. We're just going to paint where the light's falling, if you get my drift. Only going to paint where the light is already falling. So we're just going to bring that out a little bit. We may do a little more in Photoshop later, but let's see. That looks pretty good. I'm going to come over here. We're going to raise that exposure up. There we go. See, we're pulling those natural highlights. We're just pulling them up a little bit. Lower the contrast just a little bit. Pull it up a little more. Good. Do we need any clarity on it? Yeah, maybe a tiny bit of clarity. Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right. I think we may be done here with this cutter and the gloves in Photoshop. I mean, in Lightroom. But you know what? I think we're going to do one or two other things here. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. Hit 0. And these areas of glove that are just sort of medium tone here, right in here and right in here, just this medium tone feeling of the glove, especially up here around this knife edge. especially around the knife edge. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to lower that exposure down. There we go. A little bit more. A little bit more. There we go. And take the contrast down as well. And up the clarity again to fix that. There we go. Now look how the blade is popping out from the back. We got one more little thing to do here. I'm going to come in here, hit O again, make my brush very small. And I'm going to, of course, bring that flower up. Because that flower just a little on the dark side. Not evil like Obi-Wan's rival on the dark side. We're not talking Siths here. Just talking a little bit of a flower. There we go. Obviously, we're going to bring the exposure up just a little bit more, a little bit. We can take it way up like that and see what happens. I like that. I like it way up. Let's take the contrast down. Take that flower up a little bit more. Yeah, let's really bring it up. Let's bring those shadows down this way. Lower the blacks so we get a little more. Oh, look at the contrast popping on that thing. Clarity up. There we go. Now we've got a great looking flower. Let's say we're done with it. And we are now going to move it into Photoshop. Boom, 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 boom. Got to go over to Photoshop. Now I've been, this is the update on my Photoshop. And even though I have the plugin 9.10, the Adobe guys seem to tell me they don't know what they're doing and they're confused. So that's the way life goes with that. And here we are popping into Photoshop. Let me fill up the screen with my Photoshop because I got a big screen and I love to show it off. All right, so there's our image. Looking pretty good. First thing I'm going to do, because I always do this, is I'm going to recover my highlights and my shadows because I like to paint them in. I like to get me a little bit more of the good stuff. So a new layer and overlay, black and white, as you can see over here, black and white. I'm going to grab my brush at 11%. Oh, by the way, I'm going to call this lights. Lights, and then I'm going to take that brush at 11%. And I'm going to find these little highlights just like right there. And I'm just going to bring those highlights up just a little bit. Just get a little bit more of a feeling of the light hitting them. Just on the edges, because we're just going where the light's already been. You know, the light's already hit these edges. Ooh, this is going to pop that out back there. Little hole in the glove looks pretty cool. We're just highlighting the highlights. Bring those highlights up a little bit. Add a little snap to the picture. Down here, right here. Right between this, we make this brush a little bit. So we get a nice little, like a gradient thing going there. And we can highlight these little ridges down here, take it right off. Now remember these highlights that we had here? I'm going to add just a bit more just to the top. Just to the top, right there, and right there. And then on the leading edge of this thing, catch some light right there. I'm going to come up and I'm going to get the leading edge of this guy. I'll brighten that up just around that nut right there. A little more on the nut, and then of course we're going to brighten up the blade just a little bit. We don't want to lose any texture. Do we need to lighten the flower? Yeah, we can. I'm going to add a new layer. Change it to overlay. Call it darks. And grab my black brush. And in these little darker areas here, we're just going to darken them up, create a little more contrast. That guy's a little bit, you know, we don't need these guys back there. They're sort of secondary cast players. We're going to darken them up. This guy back here, just going to darken him up a little bit, like this glove up front. Really be the master of things, make a bigger brush and take that sort of evenness off the background here. Just going to lower it down. All right. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I don't think I need to add any darks. Well, maybe down here. I'll just hit this, just brush that in with one little tick at 11%. And we just build up a little more contrast. All right, so we're looking pretty good. Now I'm going to grab my Pro Contrast here from Nick. I'm going to launch Pro Contrast. We're not going to do too much in Pro Contrast. I've got the little before and after here, right thing in the middle. I'm going to go over to Dynamic Contrast. I'm going to go up to about, let me go up to 25% and see what happens. Oh yeah. You see it? A little muddy, just opens it up just a little bit. I really, really like that. Opens up the contrast in the luminance layers very well. Since I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and add a filter right there, and I'm going to go to the Darken, Lighten, Center. It's on the default. I'm going to brighten the edges just a little bit because it's a little bit dark down there. I'm going to brighten that center just a little bit more. I'm going to say OK. And there we have it. Compositionally, Kit, I think you did a pretty good job. I would caution, watch out for this tangent line here where the blade goes up and we got a finger from the glove that comes down and just runs along that edge. It would have been better to either bring this guy out or tuck him back so we could see the tip of the blade and we wouldn't have this meeting of lines here. It's called a tangent. And it can be, you know, frightfully difficult to repair, but always watch for it. It'll happen. It's like the tree growing out of somebody's head type of thing. It's called a tangent, and it's definitely something we need to watch. All right, so that's how I did Kit's image, and thanks for watching. Don Giannetti over at lighting-essentials.com. Project 52, which is project52pro2016.com if you want to go over and check us out. Have a great one. See you later.